Have you ever missed out on a hot toy you loved and had to pay triple the price later? Probably not, because that happens almost never. But if it did happen, then you probably should have pre-ordered. And pre-ordering is a very important part of hot toys. So we're going to talk about how to do it. But before we get started, make sure to like the video down below, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so that way you are notified when content goes live here. That said, this video is going to be a comprehensive pre-ordering guide for somewhat newer Hot Toys collectors. The pre-ordering process is a very important part of buying Hot Toys figures, and you should know how to do it right. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this video today. And today I want to talk about something very important, and that's the Hot Toys pre-ordering process. Whether you're brand new to Hot Toys or whether you've been collecting for a while, it's always important to remain informed and stay up to date on the best pre-ordering practices. And today we're going to go over all that. So I think the most important element to start with right off the bat is, of course, the concepts of scarcity and demand. So scarcity is essentially how rare a product is, how difficult it is to get your hands on it, and demand is how many people want to get their hands on it. The reason I bring this up is because some collectors, if they're new to the game, are under the misconception that Hot Toys figures are somewhat scarce and very difficult to come by. This is not the case. If it's an artisan figure, absolutely, those are exclusive, or some sort of other Hot Toys exclusive that has a limited edition number worldwide. Other than that, Hot Toys are generally pretty plentiful and on pre-order for months, maybe even years at a time. But the fear of missing out essentially really ties into the idea that people buy something because they fear other people are going to have it and they won't. And that, to me, implies that the collector doesn't really want it all that much. They're just kind of feeling like, this is going to be a really fun experience for everyone else, and like, I should just get it. But when you're deciding whether to pre-order Hot Toys figures, that's where you get yourself in trouble. You decide to buy a figure on a whim, or you buy a figure because of social or peer pressure, community pressure, and you end up getting something that you don't really want all that much, something that you don't need in your collection. And that takes away from funds that you could use on figures that you do need. Aftermarket prices are very difficult to predict these days. Some Hot Toys go up in value, some go down, some maintain their retail value. I would say in general, most Hot Toys are falling somewhat below their retail value as soon as they actually release. Even if they're sold out, it doesn't tend to matter all that much. There are some exceptions like Feral Predator and Bane, figures like that have gone up in value pretty tremendously. But for the most part, most Hot Toys are pretty obtainable. If you can't find them from a retailer, you can probably find them from another collector. One way or another, you're probably not going to pay over retail for most figures in the current market. When you pre-order a Hot Toys figure, most retailers are going to require something called an NRD from you, which is a non-refundable deposit. This is generally 10 to 20% of the item's overall cost, and it is by its nature and definition non-refundable. Now, some companies like Sideshow Collectibles will allow you to get the NRD back if there's a delay in the figure or there's some sort of other legitimate reason, but most companies are not going to give you that deposit back, so you have to be very careful about the money you're putting down, because that is you pushing your chips in the table and say, I want to invest. So where do you pre-order Hot Toys figures from? Now, this is going to vary dramatically from collector to collector. It depends on your geographic location, which company you have familiarity with, and generally which company you have a good experience and good connection with. At the end of the day, it's going to be personal, but for me, I usually buy my Hot Toys from Comic Concepts or Sideshow. Comic Concepts is a company I am affiliated with, so I do buy from them more often than not because they have the best prices for US collectors like myself, no sales tax, great customer service, and very fast shipping. You get it slightly after Sideshow, but it's double boxed most of the time. It's pretty fantastic. Sideshow Collectibles is the official retailer for North America and Europe, so Comic Concepts and other similar retailers are getting their stock from them. Sideshow Collectibles is incredible with their customer service. They do charge sales tax. Their shipping can be somewhat high, but they do have a very good track record and they are extremely reliable and consistent. Comic Concepts and Sideshow Collectibles are fantastic places to buy from, and that's generally where I would recommend. You can also buy from Hong Kong resellers if you want, but that is far riskier, and they generally don't even take pre-orders these days. You're probably buying an in-stock figure, but if something goes wrong, your coverage is far more limited. Most of these companies will allow you to do payment plans. You can initiate them on their website like Comic Concepts or Sideshow, and you'll generally pay like one payment per month. You can do them maybe over 6 months or even longer, depending upon how many payments you want to do. But payment plans you have to be cautious with. I wouldn't recommend having more than a couple payment plans going at a time, because say you have 8 to 10 payment plans at once and each one is $25 or $40 a month, that's going to start adding up real quickly, and it's going to feel like you're buying a figure every month or every half month, which is going to drain your budget very fast. So when do you actually pre-order? When you actually pre-order is going to be dependent upon your personal taste. I would say that for a figure that you really want, that you feel you need in your collection even, I would say you pre-order that thing pretty quickly. You want to lock in your unit, because there is the off chance that when this thing sells out, it could become more valuable and cost you more down the line. However, you want to consider your personal financial situation monthly and annually, and you want to make sure that you're not going to put yourself in a difficult position for this figure that's probably going to be on pre-order for quite a while. The only exception is Hot Toys exclusives and Hot Toys artisan figures with their premium wool-rooted hair that are very exclusive, and you have to be in the queue ready to order when it drops, or you are not going to be able to buy that figure. You can always join a wait list, but the conversions are dicey. Sometimes you get one, sometimes you don't, but if you really want it, you gotta buy that thing immediately. I think it's really important for you to pre-order as soon as you're ready. I know that might not be the most helpful information, but I think you're going to know. Your gut instinct is going to tell you this is a figure that I am ready to put my money down on, or if you're feeling kind of wishy-washy about it, then it tells you that you need more time. Let me tell you something for a fact. Hot Toys figures that are not exclusive or artisan releases are not going to sell out on pre-order very quickly. They're going to be in stock for 6 months or longer for most of them, unless it's a somewhat unpopular character where Sideshow and Hot Toys are not getting a lot of pre-orders, and they're going to close the pre-order window pretty quickly because there's no need to keep it open longer. They're not getting orders. So how do you save money on Hot Toys pre-orders so you can buy more figures? Well, this is a tricky question, but I think the number one answer to that is to use the reward system that these companies put in place for you. So Comic Concepts and Sideshow Collectibles both have a 5% rewards program where everything that you buy on the website, you're going to get 5% back in loyalty/reward points. I do recommend that you buy from retailers that have some sort of rewards or loyalty system in place, because they're giving you free money to shop with them. And it's kind of like having a credit card. If you're going to use one, getting 3% back on all of your purchases, it's free money for money that I'm going to spend anyway. And for that reason, you're getting free shit. Like I mentioned earlier, you do want to factor in your geographic location when you're deciding when and where to buy your Hot Toys figures. Right now, the tariff situation is pretty dramatic and it's affecting almost all areas of the world, but I will say that if you're going to buy from Sideshow Collectibles or Comic Concepts or things like that, you can sometimes get hit with import fees if you're in the UK or somewhere similar, and that's not a fun experience, which is why a lot of those collectors will buy from Hong Kong resellers. So I do think it makes sense to do a little bit of research and see which company is going to really give you the best deal, best bang for your buck to get more figures at a quality price. But one thing I do want you to know is that figures can change over time in terms of how you feel about them, because a lot of figures will have updated versions or a different costume for that character, and maybe even the film changed in your mind over time and you don't feel as nostalgic for it, and you could fall out of love with a pre-order. So you could very well have the best intentions when you do pre-order, but the market changes so often, as do the offerings, and because of that, you have to be somewhat adaptable. I don't generally recommend losing non-refundable deposits, but sometimes it is an inevitability. I generally am not one to get a figure and sell it immediately just because I didn't want to lose an NRD. That is a lot of time and effort, and you're probably going to end up losing more money in the process. But if the market circumstances change and another version of that character comes out that you want more, sometimes you're just going to have to eat that NRD, and that is part of the process. It's unpredictable and somewhat volatile. So guys, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video down below, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so that way you are notified when content goes live here. This is more intended to be somewhat of a beginner's guide, but I do think it's got some helpful information even for collectors who have been around for a while. So to me, I think, you know what? I think it's going to be helpful for people, but let me know if you found it helpful in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I will catch you in the next video. Peace out. See you later. Bye.